Because, education is not something that is static, it's ever changing. Empathy is something which binds you to a place. Imbibe values through constructivism. You have to struggle, you have to find yourself, because that's the way to become strong.
Hello everyone, I'm Seema Chhoriya, your host, and today I bring to you another iconic figure from the world of Indian academia. The foundation stones for a balanced success are honesty, character, integrity, faith, and loyalty. These are the words of American author Zig Ziglar. Gone are the days when one would start with a company or an organization until retirement. Today, it's a vocational need for a job that changes every 4 years. Having expressed my views on loyalty, I wish those golden days were still here and we could have our loyal soldiers could be with us through this thick and thin loss and win. Let me tell you why. I have this thought today because we are interacting with a personality who has the qualities mentioned by Zig Ziglar, and this is simply humbling experience to meet awe-inspiring educators. Please join me in welcoming Mrs. Promini Chopra, Principal, St. M.R Jaipuria School, Lucknow. Welcome to Great Principals, ma'am. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you so much, Seema, for all the embellishments. I am truly humbled by that. It's a pleasure to be here and to interact with you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So let's begin the insightful conversation. I'm sure my viewers are going to gain a lot of insights from this episode today. So, ma'am, as I was talking about the loyalty, so let me tell my viewers why I was talking about this. Once upon a time, your journey started with this school at M.R Jaipuria in 1992, and it continues till date. So, 26 years in an organization in various roles and carrying out multiple responsibility. It's a long, long journey and agreement. So, ma'am, please tell us what is the reason behind this long-term association with this organization?
Before St. M.R Jaipuria also, I worked for 2 years. I was at JK School, Kanpur. And thereafter, after my marriage, I settled in Lucknow. In 1992, I joined Jaipuria, and since then, I've never looked back. So, if you talk of my association, well, it's my life, my home. And my reason for staying here is because of the opportunities that I've got here to unfold and the liberty to experiment. Because, education is not something that is static, it's ever changing. And I mean, this is the time when we all can understand it more than anything else. The way the pandemic has changed the whole education scenario, so everyone can understand what I'm saying. And in Jaipuria, we believed in innovating. As teachers, we got the freedom to innovate. So it was never one person dictating the route. It was listening to each and every person so that all the ideas would come together, and there, whatever came up was the best for the children. But when you do the best for children, uh, you automatically grow. Learning is a two-way process. So I got immense opportunities to learn here, and a lot of trust that people here reposed in me. In whatever I did, I found my joy. That's my reason. So more than anything else, I feel that joy. It's the joy of being myself. And the school has allowed me to be myself. That's the reason for this long association.
Wonderful, ma'am. It's truly a long journey, and there is a lot of learning in this journey. So, to all the school managements out there, when you give this opportunity of growth, learning, and evolving to your staff, they are bound to stay with you. And that is how I mentioned that this school is now her home, her place, her work. So, you start loving the work and you try to give your fullest. So, wonderful management, wonderful school, great association of ma'am's journey here. Going ahead in a conversation, ma'am, as you just mentioned, it's all about the team, and teachers need to work together. So I would like to know, how do you mentor your team of teachers to stay loyal and inclines towards their vocation and organization?
You see, man by nature has a tendency and feels happy to be recognized. It's very essential to have that recognition for whatever little you do. And at no age, appreciation is not welcome. At any age, if you are at home and you cook something nice and somebody appreciates, even if you've been cooking for 20-25 years, well, that makes your day. So here at Jaipuria, it's not, we have a staff of about 250. So obviously, it's not possible for any head to associate with everyone on a day-to-day basis. So people will, in that case, people start feeling my work is not being noticed. But that doesn't happen at Jaipuria because we have such a hierarchy system that one person is not doing anything alone. It's like a horizontal hierarchy. We have a lot of heads, in each block. So we have a pre-primary block where we have one head. Under her, there are three more. And then we have the junior school where we have two heads. And then we have the middle school where again we have two heads. And then we have the senior school where again we have two heads. And all of them, they have two more heads above them. And then comes the principal. So the principal is like, she's just one bit over there, a tiny speck. But the heads in each block are closely associated with each and every teacher. So they know what the teacher is going through at home. They know when the teacher can be given a lot of work. And if the teacher is not able to meet the expectations, what is the reason? People need to be listened to. Empathy is something which binds you to a place. Support is something which binds you to a place. If someone gives you a patient hearing in an institution or in your workplace, nobody likes to leave. If someone appreciates you for your work, no one likes to leave. So these are the factors which bind my people to this organization. We are all one and we celebrate together. We celebrate each other's achievements. We recognize each other's achievements and we listen to the innovations which people wish to bring in. Because within the block, the group is quite cohesive. So they're able to discuss things on a daily basis with their heads and tell them what innovations they wish to bring, what are the problems they are facing. So they are heard, they're listened to, they celebrate together. So that's the love, the environment which keeps them together.
Oh, and what else a human want, ma'am? I think
Exactly.
wonderfully the organization has understood the psyche of humans. Why you are intact to a particular organization, as ma'am mentioned, when your voice is heard, when there's empathy, when there is support, and it's not always about monetary benefit. It's also about small, small recognitions. They uplift you, they motivate you, and that is when you continue. You're growing and evolving. So wonderful philosophies. There is a lot of, to all my school heads, to all my school managements out there, there are a lot of philosophies of how you can retain your teachers, how your attrition rate can be kept very, very low. So this is something to be learned to by each one of us. Going ahead, ma'am, you said here that you said, and I quote, my accomplishments are in living by my perceptions, working with people, trusting them, and respecting their integrity. Your ideologies give direction to your school to lead it to glory. Of the many awards bestowed, talk to us about the Social Impact Award for 2021 that the school has received under your leadership.
Uh, yeah. So the social impact, just as I said, it's not about one person doing everything over here. It's about a lot of hands being together. So we do a lot of student-led projects. They take up initiatives. Any initiative a student takes, a group of students takes, that initiative is brought to the body of heads and eventually they allow the children to proceed. But as a matter of rule, we have in the class 5 a project which is called responsible and conscious citizenship. So it's not a project which is, it's not that regular kind of project where you stick, copy, paste in a file, okay, and the parent does most of the works. It's not like that. It's a hands-on thing wherein the children, they research about a place, they find everything, all the facts about a place, whatever they can, And these days it's very easy. There is a lot of information. They choose a public place. It could be a bank. It could be simply a milk factory. It could be a park. It could be a library, anything. And the entire class 5 is divided into groups of 6 or 7 children in each group. Each group chooses a place. So you can imagine there are 315 students in class 5. The entire grade, every child is a part of this project. And after researching, they make a document which says what kind of a place have they envisioned? What kind of a place is there in their perception that place would be? So if it's a park, they imagine and they note down that it has to have a dustbin, it has to have a walkway so that people don't walk on the grass, it has to have flowers and stuff like that. Now, once they write that, and it's all student led, the students choose their leader in their group, and then they write a letter to that organization, to head of that organization, that they would like to visit. So they seek an appointment with the head or with the key people in that institution. Once they go there, they present their paper of their perception, and then they go around and see whether the reality matches with their perception or not. They need to know the grassroots reality as well. And then they discuss with the person over there that this was there in the perception. Those things, if they feel they're there, they thank them. Otherwise, they just interview and they gather more information about the place. After that, they come back to school and they make a list of suggestions that the place should have. And then they seek an appointment with the person again, and eventually go and present the paper to the person along with the suggestions. So that's a feedback suggestion for them. Now, when they do this, the reason for this is they own the place. They develop an ownership. It could be Imambara in Lucknow. So they go there, interview people, and they do little things, that people are spitting in the area. So you need to keep some spittoons. They've littered the place, so there have to be dustbins. There is no feedback book, so it should be there. And the person should look at the feedback book, but they do it very gently. They learn how to give that feedback. So then, if they notice something which has to be done, like sometime back, our children went and they noticed people had scribbled on the walls of one of the historical monuments. So they were quite upset. When they came back, they discussed it with their teachers. The teachers passed this on to a higher grade. And that higher grade took it upon itself to start a campaign which said, don't deface the walls. And that higher grade was grade 9 that took up this social responsibility project, that they started a campaign, they visited there, and they went around educating people to not deface the area. This is one. So class 5 and class 9, that's what they do. Class 9 started a project, a social development project, say no to smoking. How is it a health hazard for people who are non-smokers? So they researched, they found out everything, and they went around educating people in different areas to not do that. Similarly, they started a campaign of distributing paper bags at one time. And then they also educate the impoverished. We run a school, which is a school for the underserved, Navsrijan. So the mainstream students, they do a buddy interaction with the Navsrijan students. And they come to learn from them. They learn from Navsrijan, and they also start developing a relation with them to find out what they are braving, what they are going through, wherein their help is needed, their support is needed. So there are many of them who've contributed electronic devices for them. There are many of them who've taught them. Some of the Navsrijan children have found place in the mainstream school. They're studying in grade 11 and 12 with the children who are children of this school. And they're empathetic towards them. They treat them as their peers. So these children have become very confident, and you really have to, someday conduct an interview with those children of Navsrijan who've come to mainstream to see the confidence they have to be among the mainstream people. That's what the country needs. When the underprivileged children, underserved children, they buddy with the mainstream students, there is learning for both of them. One becomes confident, the other becomes empathetic. and the other understands this is my responsibility as I grow into a citizen. It's not education within those books, cover to cover, and getting a 90%. It's education beyond books, the real education that we believe. These are these are a few things. Recently, we've started a project tutoring the disrupted learner, which has been taken up by grade 11 along with Jaipuria Institute of Management. So our students will be mentoring the disrupted learners who did not have the opportunity to learn in the pandemic. So a curriculum has been made in English, maths, and Hindi, and these children will teach them online. Our students will teach them online. So we keep doing these little things, our
Wow.
bit.
You know, ma'am, many a times, so many educators are there, and many times this questions comes up: what can teachers teach children for life, which is beyond textbooks? So this is what ma'am explained. You know, a real example where the children are learning so many things. There's something very different today we are hearing on this platform. Generally, what happens is topic is given, you survey the place and write. Here, what they are doing is they are, imbibing the skill, making the children think more, being more creative, think, imbibe their cognitive skills and write about the thesis, what they have perceived, what is their perceptions. So this is something very unique which I found here, and wonderful philosophy, ma'am, wonderful way of teaching children to learn on their own. They enjoy it and they're learning so many things, be empathetic, learn the conserve the nature, you know, feel make your country proud. So many things they are learning with these small projects. So wonderful, ma'am. Beautiful approach towards learning. I really, really loved it.
I'll add something to it, and it's not that children go and give suggestions back there. The school also hears them out. So before we stopped, 1.5 years, we couldn't do anything because of the pandemic. These projects where they had to go out, it wasn't safe for students. So they went to, before the pandemic, they went to CMAP. That's the Central Institute of Medicinal and Aromatic Plants. And when they came back, they spoke with me. They wanted to have a garden in the school which had medicinal plants. And we helped them do that. Then there was a group which went to Parag factory. And from where they found out how milk is packaged, what do they do with the milk that is left, and how is the milk standardized, and the problems they are facing. And then one group came back from planetarium. Now, when they came back from planetarium, they said they had got a proposal to set up an observatory and a night sky viewing, uh, and they could do it for us. So, they brought this proposal for us to do, but we couldn't do it because of the pandemic. Someday we'll do that as soon as things are even more normal.
Incredible. When so many children are working on different projects, I'm sure they must be exchanging the projects, and this is how they are more enriching their learning. Wonderful, ma'am. Beautiful approach. And I think this is something which needs to be practiced. And this is what NEP is talking all about, teaching children to learn beyond textbooks, to enhance their life skills, their soft skills. Amazing. Wonderful, ma'am. So going ahead, ma'am, on this wonderful note, we reach to the next question. So now you are like almost 3 decades handling so many responsibility as an educator. So I would like to ask you, ma'am, there must be some situation where you also must be seeking some advice and support. So who is that educationist you look up for inspiration?
So I can't single out anyone for inspiration, because I truly feel that nature is the best inspirer, and there are so many people who I am in awe of. But yes, for support and for a lot of learning, for knowing about education, there is an educationist who I feel people must know, and that is Mrs. Anjali Jaipuria. She is the basic brainchild behind this school, and she thinks a lot about all these projects, keeps bringing a lot of innovations. So I look up to her for a lot of advice, lot of support, and both of us are hand in glove with each other in whatever we do. So that's how we move.
Great. And this is the reason why school is doing so well today, because when management and the team join hands and they work towards achieving the single vision, that is the school's vision, the founder's vision, and that is when the school flourishes. So great, ma'am. Great to know the support that the management is giving. This brings to me to the very interesting segment of the show, which is called the rapid fire round. So, ma'am, you have to answer in one word or a statement, right? So here goes the first question. You spend your recreational time indulging in activities like
Admiring nature and reading a book outside the house.
outside the house. All right. Great. So tell us about a funny or a weird incident in your life.
um, well, it's personal, but definitely I can share it. Long years back, I constructed a house, and the then principal, Mr. Arvindakshan, he was invited, and he came towards the end when the caterers and all, they had almost wrapped up everything. So he was very late, and my sister happened to be around. So when he came, since he was wrapping up everything, he had wrapped up most of the food, but somehow the table was laid and all, and it was a house in a new colony with no neighbors around. So at the last moment, getting things was not all that easy. So towards the end, he had finished his food and he was leaving. My sister offered him a cup of coffee. And she says, "Would you like a cup of coffee?" So he said, "Yes, I can have it." The coffee machine and everything that was not there, it had been packed. So the caterer, he was informed and he said that he had milk only for one cup of coffee. Now there were two, husband and wife. So that one cup of coffee was made, and it was very embarrassing for all of us. And for me, it was the principal of my school coming to my house the first time and having two people sharing one cup of coffee. So you can understand what happened after that and what did I tell my sister after that. And she very nicely vanished from there after, creating that scene. So, and I can't forget that.
Such incidents keeps reminding us, though they turn out to be funny, but they always have a memory in our brain there somewhere there, right? So going to the next question. Nature is the best teacher. You have already mentioned. Is it true or false?
True.
All right. If not a teacher, you would have been a
Preacher.
all right. So a preacher. Great. Name your favorite cuisine.
Uh, Punjabi food.
All right. So ma'am is a Punjabi food lover. Your favorite genre of music is?
Well, I listen to semi-classical old Hindi songs.
Last question of this segment. Since you love reading, which is your favorite book or author?
Uh, I can't tell you who's my favorite book or author because it keeps changing. When I read Arundhati Roy, well, it was Arundhati Roy. Lately, I've been reading a lot of Robin Sharma, so I'm inspired by him and I read a lot of him. Uh, One of the books that is the latest one that I'm reading is by one of our school alumnus, Rahul Singh. So he's written a book, Ikegai, Finding Your Own Ikegai. So that's really interesting, and I'm reading that.
So that is what as a true reader is. You cannot just stick to one book or author. You just keep shuffling, and that is how you enrich your, main your experiences. You learn more reading so many authors, so many different thought processes. So wonderful to know you in this segment. This make me to reach to the last segment of the question of the show, which is called Viewer's Choice Question. Our viewers keep on sending us a lot of questions, and this one I have picked for you. They say that, could you shed some light on how educators can include constructivism in their school curriculum?
Well, how do I answer that? Maybe I can take up an example. Um, it's basically when you allow children to do something, but when you are allowing children to do, the class is led by the students, but in your head, you have a clear plan of where you wish to take them. So it's not that you allow them to do, you say, okay, come on, you handle it. But you yourself have no plan and you feel, okay, something will emerge. It's not like that. You have your facts ready with you. You've given enough thought to them, but you lead the children into them. Why I say you have to be clear? Because then you know the end. You know where you wish to take them. You know your objective. And that objective has to be fulfilled. because a target has to be there everywhere. So I can give you a small example. It could be, let's say it's an English class, supposing, and you want to teach children, you want them to have a perfect knowledge of adjectives. Now, one way is that you start telling them what's an adjective, give me two examples, stuff like that. I don't think that's what the approach should be. One could simply tell the children to look around the class and just pick up um, one object in the class and say something to appreciate. Just choose 5 words to appreciate that object. So all the children of the class could contribute 1 or 2 words. They could be written on the board to appreciate that object. From the object, you move to people. That okay, now you look at one of the person, maybe it could be the teacher. I think the teacher has to start with herself. Look at the teacher and then just pick up 5 adjectives wherein you appreciate the teacher. And then you tell them, okay, you have to, in one sentence or in 2 sentences, you have to just write something that you appreciate in the peer sitting next to you. And you pin it up behind the person's back. And after this, what are these words called in which you've appreciated? You bring the child to that word. Once you brought the child to that word, with these kind of activities, you can easily move ahead. Then you can tell the person, okay, uh, you just read what is written behind your friend's back. And now write your perception about yourself. Write your adjectives for yourself. So obviously the child will write something positive, something negative. And thereafter, you remove the what is pinned behind your back and read both of them. You read what is your friend's perception about you, and you read your own perception. Now, your friend has been told to be positive, so he's written all positive things about you. You raise the self esteem of the entire class. You make each one of them appreciate each other. You imagine how much happiness has been will effuse in the whole class through such an approach. And what has been constructed? A knowledge of adjectives and also happiness. Value. We imbibe values through constructivism. When it is a chalk and talk or a lecture method, well, it's all mundane. And that is just information which children have. So that's how we feel knowledge has to be constructed. And this is a regular practice in our school. In fact, we have a research lab in the school wherein we send the adolescents, they are very sensitive towards everything. And they always feel, I know, right? That's something which the adolescent feels. So that is why we send them to the research lab. After teaching them physics, chemistry, biology, the teacher, she segregates some portions from the text and she says, these are the portions that I'm not going to teach. So the class divides it into groups. And now each one of you take up this subtopic, gather your information and do your presentation. And you have to choose one leader from your group who will present what you have learned. And 5 or 6 groups in the class, they first research on that subtopic, then they present it. So isn't that constructivism? So these are little things. And one little thing, once you start doing it, you enjoy it to that extent, you see how learning happens, and you feel that you can do more of it because it is a matter of approaching things. So many ideas will flood into your head that you will not know. It'll be an idea boom. You will not be able to cater to all those ideas. You'll have so many of them.
I can imagine how engaging and interactive class that would be. And with such an approach, the concepts clarity would be at its peak. We all talk about that concepts are not clear in the school because of the syllabus. And when the children are participating and learning on their own in a fun and in a, as ma'am mentioned, in a guided manner, they are learning, but that is being directed by the teachers. They have planned where they want the complete approach, where the complete system to reach to. So this is something, very, very incredible. And I think all the schools should practice this kind of approaches where children learn a concept and they never forget because they have themselves figured it out. All right, like ma'am mentioned, simple example of adjective. They have figured out, okay, so this is what is called adjective. They didn't hear any definition there. So wonderful. I really loved all the approaches, ma'am, that you mentioned here. I'm just imagining why I didn't had it in my school days. And that my conceptions have been so far clear.
You see, Seema, all this can happen only when you connect with yourself. Because our school has a very deep seated philosophy, all knowledge is within. Don't thrust the child with knowledge. Allow the child to blossom, allow the child to find himself. And when you find yourself, you are in absolute joy. But finding yourself means finding the knowledge within, right? So every child knows what to do, but you have to provide that environment. You have to allow the child to open up, to unfold, and find the knowledge that is there rather than showing the way all the time. Who taught? Who taught the chicken to come out of the egg? No one taught. God has given that knowledge. So we bring the children close to that knowledge that you see, you have to struggle, you have to find yourself, because that's the way to become strong. That's the way to have strong wings for high flight.
Beautifully expressed and explained, ma'am. Just ignite the spark and see these little stars twinkles at their best. Wonderful. This was great and insightful session where we learned so many approaches which schools can follow, even for the for retaining the teachers, for teaching children constructively, for involving the children in learning. So many things we have learned in this session, ma'am. Our education system defines our future. It inspires us, teaches us, rears us, and has historically been the channel for development. So, to all the school leaders out there, ma'am has shared some wonderful philosophies which can be practiced and make the learning more fun and more engaging. So, thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your journey and ideologies with us. We truly feel blessed and privileged to have an interaction with you.
Thank you so much. It has been entirely my pleasure, my joy. Thank you.